Have you ever wondered what a $50,000 a month cleaning business actually generates in terms of profit for the business owner? That is what I'm going to talk about in today's video. So my name's Sean, I run a marketing agency and we work with over 50 cleaning companies all around the world, many of whom are doing north of $50,000 a month. So in today's video, I'm going to break down what the $50,000 a month looks like in terms of revenue, typical monthly costs, and then thirdly, looking at the actual profit that is generated at the end of the day. So first of all, let's have a look at the revenue. So if we are running a residential cleaning business, there are broadly two types of service that we'll be offering. So we'll have residential recurring clients. These will typically be homeowners asking us to clean for them every week or every 2 weeks or every month. And then we'll get a series of one-off jobs. So it could be people looking just to book in a standard one-off cleaning, or maybe people are having some family to come and stay and they're looking to clean their property beforehand. So this $50,000 a month will likely be a mixture of these two. So generally with the larger businesses that I work with, the majority of the revenue will tend to be recurring revenue, because these recurring clients, as I talk about on other videos on my channel, will typically, pay us every week, every 2 weeks, as long as we're doing a good job. So these quickly stack up. So when you look inside the financial revenue of these businesses doing north of 50K, you tend to find that the majority of their revenue is coming from recurring clients. So let's make the maths really simple, and let's say out of the 50,000, 30,000 is coming from recurring clients, these weeklies, bi-weeklies, monthly clients, and then 20,000 is coming from these one-off jobs. A typical recurring client we can say would be a bi-weekly client who is paying us $150 a time. So they will get a cleaning twice a month. So 2 times 150 would be 300. So to go from $300 to $30,000 a month in recurring revenue, that means that we would need 100 recurring clients. How many cleaners, would we typically need to serve 100 recurring clients? So again, let's take the case of a full-time cleaner. Let's say they're available Monday through Friday and they can work mornings and afternoons. So typically what you would find is that, there would be a morning job and an afternoon job. So a cleaner who is available 5 days a week would typically have 10 weekly slots available to them. So if they are serving 10 weekly clients, that is the equivalent to having 20 bi-weekly clients, because those bi-weekly clients are having cleanings every 2 weeks. So if we have 100 recurring clients who are bi-weekly clients, that means we probably need about 5 full-time cleaners in our business to serve those 100 bi-weeklies. So obviously that would take care of the 30,000 recurring revenue. The other 20,000 would be one-off jobs. So again, if we assume 10 slots a week for these clients, we could say between 5 and 10 cleaners would be required within our cleaning business to generate that 30,000 recurring revenue, as well as the 20,000 in one-off revenue to get to that $50,000 a month. So typically you see businesses who are at that 50K level or higher probably have about 10 cleaners. Some of them will be some of them will be part-timers, some of them will be full-timers, but that is generally how you build up to that 50,000 revenue level. If you guys are finding the content helpful, please like and subscribe. It really, really helps me. Let's jump onto the next step, which is the cost breakdown. We've talked about how many cleaners that we would need in our business to generate that revenue. But the important step with hiring those cleaners is to figure out how much do they get paid for each cleaning, and typically the way that you want to look at it is in terms of the percentage of the revenue. So as a really good starting point, I tend to tell people, if a client is generating you, say, $100, you don't want to be paying more than $50 to one of your cleaners to do that job for you, because you need to make sure that there's enough profit after you pay your cleaners to reinvest in things like marketing and recruitment and to hire an office manager. So that 50% labor cost number is a really great place to start. And the additional thing to note here is, obviously in this industry, there are two types of worker model. You have your 1099 contractors as one option, and then you've got your W-2 employees as a different option. So when those companies are looking at W-2s, there's obviously additional payroll taxes and things like that. So the 50% number would be what would be called a fully loaded labor cost. So it'd be what you pay your W-2s directly, as well as any other payroll costs as well. Obviously with the 1099 contractors, there aren't any of these additional payroll costs, so it means that you can pay them effectively a little bit more for them. But what is important with the labor cost number is that you don't want to pay more than that 50% if you can. Many clients that I work with are between 40 and 50, which is a great level. Obviously, the lower this labor cost number, it means that the higher the gross profit percentage. So the gross profit being that amount of money that is left over after you pay for your direct cleaners to do the work for you. So when we go from 50,000, if we are taking 50% away as the labor cost, that means that we are left with $25,000 a month in gross profit. So there are obviously additional costs in running a business of that size. And then the next item would probably talk about the marketing and recruitment. And the way I look at it is that you want to be spending around 10% of your monthly revenue with your marketing and recruitment. So with your marketing, it could be things like running ads on Google, or it could be paying an SEO agency. On recruitment, it could be running ads on, say, Indeed or other job boards. But your overall marketing and recruitment costs, I always say 10% is a really good number to focus on. And many people make the mistake of looking at marketing and recruitment in terms of a fixed amount each month. So, okay, let's put $2,000 into marketing this month and $500 into recruitment this month, and let's just run it for a few months. But what is very common is that you will see these cleaning companies, growing nicely, and suddenly they just start, the growth starts leveling out. They're not growing, they've not changed anything, and these owners, they don't really understand why this is happening. And the reason for that is that, let's look at your cleaning business. As the business grows and as the monthly revenue grows, that will typically mean that you've got more recurring clients, but you will get a natural churn in your recurring clients. So what I mean by that is you'll get people who are leaving, moving out of town or out of the city. Maybe some are cancelling due to budgetary issues. But as you get more and more recurring clients under your books, it means in absolute terms, more and more will be cancelling each month. So if you have the same marketing budget that you're spending, bringing in a certain number of new clients each month, if your business is growing and you're getting more recurring clients cancelling, it means that once you replace those that have cancelled, there's fewer and fewer left in addition to grow the business. And this is why you tend to see growth rates starting to peter out if people are using this sort of fixed marketing spend approach. So the reason why I like the idea of a percentage of your monthly revenue is that what that means is that as the business grows, it means if you're putting 10% into your marketing, for example, your marketing spend is growing as the business grows. And you need to do that because of this natural churn of your recurring clients. So 10% is a really good number to think about. Obviously, when you're running your business, there will be periods where you have got lots of clients but not enough cleaners. So you probably want to shift more of that 10% towards recruitment. But then other times, maybe you've got plenty of cleaners but not enough clients. So you might want to shift more of that 10% over to marketing and boost up your Google Ads spend and things like that. So if we take that 10% number of 50K, it means that we'll probably be spending around $5,000 a month in total in marketing and recruitment. And that will ensure that the business is continuing to grow nicely. So then the third part is looking at your office managers and your VAs. So, at this $50,000 a month level, there's likely to be lots, you'll have your 100 recurring clients, you'll have your 5 to 10 cleaners. There'll be lots of things going on. So if you as the business owner are doing everything, you're probably getting to that stage where you're feeling like you're burning out a bit. And typically, at this level, at this scale of the business, you want to think about bringing in a virtual assistant or an office manager. And again, a good way to think about this is if you're spending around 10% of your monthly revenue in terms of virtual assistants or office managers, that will hopefully mean that most of the day-to-day work is being outsourced to someone else. So you as the business owner can focus on how do I grow this thing rather than getting tied up in the day-to-day activities of the business. So obviously with virtual assistants and office managers, there's two main areas that you can recruit. So there'll be people who are in the same country as you. Obviously, if you're running a business in the US or Canada, they're going to be more expensive than if you say hire someone overseas in South America or Southeast Asia. And there's obviously pros and cons to both. If we again just say around 10% of monthly revenue are on VAs, it could be a full-timer, it could be a couple of part-timers, you're not likely to be far away from that side. And then the final cost element to be aware of is just all your other costs. So it could be your software, it could be your tools, it could be your website maintenance. There's lots of other little software subscriptions in particular are a common one, which your business will likely be incurring at that $50,000 a month level. And again, let's say your software is $5,000 a month on that side. What does this mean in terms of actual profit that is left over? So if we take your $50,000 a month, we take away the 50% labor cost, that brings it down to 25. We bring down your marketing and recruitment, which is another 5, that brings it down to 10. You've got another 5 for your virtual assistant, that brings it down to 15. And then the final 5,000 a month is for these software subscriptions and things like that. So what that means is that your profit after paying all your cleaners and all the other costs associated with your business is around $10,000 a month. So a 20% profit margin in this business is pretty typical if you're not going crazy with your costs, if you're pricing your services in the right way. But I do see many occasions where people get one or both of these things wrong. Maybe they're not pricing high enough, or maybe they're spending too much money on costs, and maybe they have a fleet of expensive vehicles and an office lease. So you can find that 20% profit margin can quickly get eroded. But really, it all starts off with pricing your services in the right way. If you do not price your cleaning service in the right way, and as I said, many people, particularly early on, price their services too low because they see all these competitors or other cleaners charging super low rates. But if you follow them and charge that super low rate, you will have no chance to grow a large and profitable business. There will not be enough profit left over after you pay your cleaners because your labor cost percentage will probably be so high because your price is so low. So, it all starts off with pricing. In this next video, I'm going to take you through the pricing strategy, how you set your prices, how you make sure that you're going to be competitive in your area. And if you get your pricing set up right at the very beginning, it really gives you a great foundation to grow a large and profitable business. So I'll see you on the next one.